I'm Leah Lawrence.
And I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And you are listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast, where I regale my husband with Southern stories of the macabre, creepy, and strange.
And I drink...
So, what are you drinking today, Mitchell?
Our beer today is Brunch Punch Shandy, brewed and canned at Avondale Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. It's only 3.5% alcohol by volume, Leah. But that is not listed on the can. I had to look so many places to find that because it's also not on their website. I think this was like a one-off brew thing. But I did find it on Untapped and Beer Advocate. So in two spots it says the same thing, 3.5%. So I'm going with that. And let's read the can real quick. Again, nothing much on it. It says Tangerine Ale, and there's a picture of an elephant with sunglasses and a little shandy glass that says Stay Fancy.
Yeah, that's Miss Fancy. It's their mascot.
Oh, I didn't know they had one.
So Avondale Park is right across from where the Avondale Brewery is, and there's a statue of an elephant that used to be there. I mean, the statue's still there, but the elephant used to be like an attraction, and her name was Miss Fancy, and there's a statue there, so their mascot for the brewery is Miss Fancy.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yep.
How interesting. Well, what I have to say about the beer is, or the shandy, I guess, because it's so light. I mean, this is like drinking just a soda almost.
Yeah.
It's got an interesting orange peel tanginess. Like at the beginning, it's just heavy orange peel, but it's very, very easy to drink. It's crisp. It's light. It's perfect for just sitting on the beach. Like I could have probably 30 of these sitting on the beach because they're so light.
Yeah.
You know.
I
give it a 9 out of 10.
It's really bad if I drank 30 of these things, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you don't have any kind of constitution, so let's not do that for you. But, you have like 10. I'll have 30.
I could probably have like 1.5 before I was like, it's a bit much.
Yeah, this is barely more alcoholic than a soda. It really is.
That's true. And it's not a sweet beer in any capacity. It's a real bitter orange peel. Mm-hmm. Very muted kind of flavor. It's really good.
Yep.
I assumed it being a shandy, it was going to be like a sweet thing, and it's not. It's almost like if you've ever had like a tamarind flavored something. It's got that kind of bitter citrus kind of flavor to it, and I enjoy it. I didn't think I would. When I took the first sip, I was a little startled by the fact that it wasn't sweet, but once I took another sip and like enjoyed it, it was really good. I enjoy it. It's nice.
I gave it a 9 out of 10. I enjoy it. It's not perfect. It does leave something to be desired a little bit, but I do like it quite a bit, and I would have this again for sure. Our shot in the dark for the night, we had it on just a few weeks ago. Western Sun Blueberry flavored vodka, distilled and bottled by Western Sun Distillery in Pilot Point, Texas. 30% alcohol by volume, and if you would like to hear the full review, go back 5 weeks from this episode released, episode number 112, which was called Just Divorce Me. This vodka got a 10 out of 10 overall. It is absolutely excellent. Maybe my favorite thing we've ever had liquor-wise on the show. And it's so good.
It doesn't have any real blueberries in it, so I can drink it. Yeah,
it's just flavoring, thankfully. So Leah did not have an allergic reaction. If she does this time, something's wrong. There's something up. But yeah, that's it for the alcohols, Leah. Short and sweet this week. And just real excited to get into some shots.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, well, are you ready to start with a sassy Southern saying?
I sure am.
All right, well, this week, it's pretty short and simple, and I think you'll get it. All right, You ready?
Yes.
All right, the phrase is, hit the bushes.
Hit the bushes?
Yeah.
Oh. Is that just like hit the trail, get out of here, leave?
No.
All right, well, let me think about it.
Would you like it in a sentence?
It could be like beating out a rug, like hit the bushes and get the birds out of the bushes,
Let me use it in a sentence.
Okay.
If y'all don't mind, I got to go hit the bushes before we leave, y'all.
Okay, yeah, okay. I got you. As a young child, I want to tell this story real quick. We lived with my grandparents in an old, like, ranch home that they built in the 50s when I was growing up, and there was a large porch on it. And on those porch, or the porch was kind of surrounded by tall bushes, all right? Every day, for a very long time growing up, I would go outside to one side of the porch, and I would pee on the same bush every time. Within a couple of years, that bush was gone. it died completely because my brother and I both had peed on it so much as young children. So I now understand what this means, but I think I had blocked it out because of the trauma of killing a bush as a young child. So,
not the bush.
Yeah. Please, not the bush. Yeah. But I get it now.
Yeah, it just means to go to the bathroom. So if someone's out and, you're at a party or a restaurant or something and someone says, hey, I gotta go hit the bushes, it doesn't mean that they're gonna go actually literally smack some bushes around. It means they gotta go pee. Yeah,
I just had something funny happen. I typed down as a proposed episode title the trauma of killing a bush, and now I'm just like, George W?
No, that I was going to say the connotations of that could be iffy.
I know,
so.
That's why looking at it is much different than thinking it.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we don't use that as the title. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, well, are you ready to get into our very first story of the evening?
I sure am. And by the way, if I had my choice of which bush to kill, Barbara.
That is so rude. She hasn't done anything to anybody except be old. And wear overly exaggerated pearls, but whatever. Bless it. Anyway,
that's enough of a sin right there, overly exaggerated pearls.
She wears a really, wide gauge of pearl. It bothers me. Anyway, I know that's a really weird costume design choice of mine, but at any rate, it annoys me. I don't like it. Let's continue.
I was in a band called A Wide Gauge of Pearl.
Were you a Pearl Jam cover band or what?
Yeah. Our lead singer was named Jeremy. It was a whole thing. We went deep into it.
So weird.
Yeah.
All right.
Wide Gauge of Pearl Jam. Hell yeah. Now we're talking.
Okay, so we are going to stick in Alabama for both of our stories this evening, and we are both going to stick into the genre of true crime, but not recent true crime, because that makes me sad and depressed when I try to look up that information. So... You
said both of these are in Alabama?
Yeah, both are in Alabama today, and both, like I said, are in the true crime genre. So no ghosties this round, no aliens are going to hang out, but I think we're going to enjoy it. It's a little bit fun. Vintage true crime. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we are going to Blount County, Alabama, and we are going to talk about the Bill Wilson case.
Okay.
All right. So,
don't know who that is. I'm excited to learn.
Excellent. All right. So we're in around 1908 when all of this starts. So there's a man named Bill Wilson, and he was married to a woman named Jenny Wilson. Now, they had been married for about 7 years, and it wasn't going great.
Oh, no.
They had 3 daughters together. And like I said, just no one knows exactly what happened, but they were not happy together. And Jenny just decides it's time to go. So she takes her youngest daughter, who was a toddler at the time, leaves the older 2 daughters with Bill in Blount County, and she splits. She's gone. Bye. Doesn't come back. Okay. Even for her children.
But she only took one daughter.
Only took the baby.
That's okay. Yeah. That's fucked
up. Took the toddler and fucking split. So he didn't really want to stick in the house that he was living in previous because it had bad memories, and he needed to sort of restart, I guess. So he went back to where his daddy lived in Blount County, and all of this has been in Blount County. It wasn't too far away, but he went back to his daddy's farm, and they grew cotton there. And so he started helping his dad, and his mom and everything helped raise the younger girls, or the older girls, but they were young girls at the time.
Okay.
So he's getting on with his life, taking care of his daughters, just trying to sort of keep things going and keep the girls healthy and happy and well fed and all that stuff. So he's just trucking along. But in communities like any of them. When you don't know exactly what happened in someone's marriage and someone just splits all of a sudden, people are going to talk about it.
I agree.
And they did. And they talked and they talked and they talked. And people would say, Bill, what happened? And he was just like, I don't really want to fucking talk about it. Let's just move on. You know what I mean?
Bill.
Bill, what happened? No.
Bill.
And he just didn't want to talk about it. He just wanted to take care of his daughters, farm the land, and be done with it. So for years, people whispered about it, but not a whole lot was said, just outright. There were rumors and whispers, but for the most part, he was just a quiet, well-respected man in the community, and for the most part, people just let him be. But in 1912, about 4 years after Jenny left with their daughter, there's a man named Rudolphus Tidwell, which is the best name.
Hell yeah.
He took his kid fishing on the Little Warrior River, which is a little south of Oneonta, Alabama.
Yeah.
And I've actually been in that river because my youth group used to take whitewater rafting trips down there when I was in
that sounds fucked
school.
Up.
But I went once and I did not go again because that is the most terrifying shit you've ever done. No, thank you.
I like, I will say, the most I've ever done is drunkenly float down the Cahaba River, but it's kind of rafting. Like there are.
Yeah, but you don't actively go over the rapids in a boat and get bounced the fuck out because you're the fat kid on the raft. But
no, when you're tubing, they tell you when you come up to a rapid, get out and walk over the rapid. Carry your tube with you.
Yeah, no. The point of this is to go over the rapids in the boat, and it's not a good plan. Don't do it. Just saying.
Did you hurt yourself?
Yes.
Oh, well, of course. This coming from the lady who yesterday stepped out of my car and pulled a muscle in her side so bad that she could barely move this morning.
Go fuck yourself.
All you did was step out of the car.
Yeah, it hurt really bad and it still hurts.
I know.
But I bounced my happy ass out of this raft and broke my hand. So
Jesus.
Thank you very much. Anyway. So... Damn, that was a bad time. Anyway, so the Tidwells were fishing and having a good time, and it was actually on property that was owned by Cyrus Wilson, who's Bill's father. And so they were all just, fishing, having a good time, and all of a sudden they noticed like a little cave high on the bank of the river in sort of a bend area in the river. It was just a small cave, and the little kid was like, that's so cool, let's see what's up there. So little baby Tidwell just sort of scrambles up the hill, and he goes and looks into the cave. And when he goes into the cave, he finds a bunch of human bones. And he assumes, like most people would, that they were probably like a Native American burial of some sort. So he's like, okay, whatever, nothing that I want to mess with is up here. So he goes back down and tells his dad, and his dad's like, oh, that's interesting, and they keep on fishing. Now, they had told a few other people around town what they had found in the cave. Like, hey, there's bones in this cave. We thought it was kind of cool. We just left it alone. But yeah, there's bones in the cave. Okay. And, of course, people... sort of amateur archaeologist types are like, oh, that's so exciting, let's go find a souvenir, basically. So they find this cave and they go into it and they find the remains of what they believe to be two bodies. One of the jawbones that they found had like teeth that were worn down a little bit, so they would assume that it was a little bit of an older person. And some of the other bones looked really small, so they assumed it was probably a young child that was with them. So they, like I said, were taking bits and pieces, and they were hoping to find like Native American pottery, arrowheads, something like that. But there was nothing else like that at the burial site, so they just sort of like, whatever, just bones, that kind of thing. Okay. So the rumors started getting out that this was on Bill Wilson's daddy's property. Two bodies were found, an older person and a younger child. maybe it has something to do with Bill Wilson's missing wife.
Oh.
So the speculation was made worse by a farmhand that worked for Cyrus Wilson, his daddy. And this man's name is James House. Now, James House was one of the guys that was shit-talking Bill in, just conversations around town. He was one of the ones that are like, oh, I wonder what the divorce was about, kind of. He was that guy. And he claimed to anybody that would listen to him talk, basically, that he saw Jenny from a distance. Like, he was out in the fields and he saw Jenny come up to the in-laws' home in 1908, right before she disappeared. And he said that, she went in that day and she never came out and she was never seen again in the town.
I don't trust that guy.
So the guy was like, oh, it's definitely the bones of Jenny and her baby. And so he was telling around town to anybody that would listen this story. And he was like, I'm just saying, I can't tell you that it's them, but I think it's them. And the story got repeated all over town and people started believing it. Now, a lot of people that had actually gone to the cave and seen the bones were like, those bones have been there for decades. There's no way it's her bones. It just doesn't make sense. Like, those are old bones. What are you talking about?
But God, I've got some old fucking bones.
Right. But they just sort of brushed away that
theory,
doubtfulness. I don't know. That
evidence.
Yes, they just sort of were like, "Oh, fuck it."
It's a very common thing nowadays.
Exactly.
Oh, you have evidence? Fuck out of here. These are some Jenny bones.
Jenny Bones.
You said it.
So
these is Jenny Bones.
The prosecutor in town, his name was James Embry, and he was one of those hotshot, very sure of himself asshole types that you see on these documentaries about people that were wrongfully convicted.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, I'm going to nail this motherfucker in court.
Hey.
It's going to make a name for myself. It's going to be great. So he charged Bill Wilson, and he had to stand trial for murder just based on this house guy's really sketchy testimony of that he saw Jenny go in the house, never saw him come back, and that there were bones in a cave that were on the property. But, like, that's the only evidence that anybody has at all, period, that anything happened. So they get him into the courtroom. Everybody's there. It is a big to-do. Half the townsfolk think he did it. Half the townsfolk thinks he's innocent, so it's a big deal. And the Embry guy got the Mr. House, the one whose testimony put him in this situation. Mm-hmm. He got him to tell his tale in court. And at this point, the tale had grown quite a bit.
Oh, of course it had.
So he claimed in court that not only had he seen Jenny go into her in-laws' house and never come out, he also claimed that he had found a child's blanket, a bloody rock, and human footprints on the river bluff the day that he saw Jenny come
never told anybody?
Right.
The whole time?
Come into her in-laws' house. And he also claimed that later, like a year or so later, not a year or so, after the bones were found by that family and, the to-do had been done. What?
Oh, God, that made me so happy, Leah.
So he said that he saw Bill Wilson out there in the area of the cave digging around, and he handed this houseman a little rib, and he said, hey, here's a baby's rib. You better take this one. Like, just giving him a baby rib. Like, who the fuck? And so...
Y'all, don't send us any baby ribs.
Please do not.
I would like a full rack of ribs.
Ugh. No.
I love ribs.
Pig ribs, maybe, not baby ribs.
Well, no. Calm down, Leah. I don't want a full... I don't want a baby sternum in my house. Get it out of here. Don't send it here. It shouldn't be here anyway.
Thank you.
Fuck off. or the to do will be to done. God, that was so funny. I can't fit that in anywhere, but I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life.
Excellent.
That was so funny.
So there was also a jailhouse informant, which we all know how reliable those fuckers can be.
I do.
A jailhouse informant testified that he heard Wilson say in jail that his wife was, quote, over the river. And he took that to mean that he buried him in that cave over the river. So that was sort of basically all of their evidence to the fact that this man had murdered his wife and child. So there was an attorney that was for the defense named M.M. Davidson, and he did a damn good job. He called his witnesses, including the wife's sister, who said, you know, we saw Jenny alive months after they broke up and, like, he supposedly murdered her. There's no way that happened the way that guy said it happened. And then Bill's family, who's the one whose house she was supposed to have gone to, was like, after they broke, like, she never came to our house and definitely not alone. That's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It didn't happen. Yeah. And then they brought in some medical experts. There was a doctor that declared that the bones were at very least 10 years old, and the teeth in the adult jawbone didn't have any dental work done, and it was known that Jenny had had several fillings, so there's no way in hell it could have been her teeth.
Because Jenny had a sweet tooth.
I guess. And so there was no way on earth that it was possible for that jawbone to have belonged to the woman that they said it did.
She ate too many baby ribs.
So everybody's like, okay, this is shaping up to be a cut and dry case. They got it wrong. Let's release the guy. But the jury is still the one in charge here. So they go out and they deliberate for quite some time. And when they come back, the foreman of the jury says, yeah, we've convicted him for first-degree murder. And he was only 32 at this point in time. And so he was sent away and sentenced to life in prison with hard labor. And so his friends and neighbors were quite certain that he'd been fucked over by the system, and they were upset about it. And so one of his friends' name was William Woodward, and he was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. They gathered all of the bones in that cave, and they boxed them up, and they sent them to the Smithsonian for analysis, just to say, hey, how old are these bones? What kind of people did they belong to? Help us out here. So, shot in the dark.
Oh, God, it's time. Took forever to get there.
So, a year after they mailed these bones off to the Smithsonian mailed them back with the analysis. And the analysis said that the bones had come from some bodies. The question is, how many bodies did the bones come from? Was it A, 2, B, 5, or C, 8?
Oh, man, I don't... I'll go with 5. Just go right in the middle, 5.
You are correct.
Yay! But don't worry, I'm going to take a shot with you. Because I love this blueberry vodka.
So the anthropologist said that the bones were from old burials and they were from at least 5 different bodies.
Jesus. So so they just convicted this guy on literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, we're going? Okay, well, Leah's going right ahead. So let me do the same.
Ooh, don't mix those two.
Oh, you mix the shandy?
That's not pleasant.
No, this is the kind of thing that you just let sit. Ooh. Just let it sit in that mouth. It's burning the back of my throat. But goddamn, it tastes good.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Western Sun.
Of the flavored vodkas, Western Sun is great and it's really cheap. Yep. Highly recommended. Absolutely. They are sweet, so if you don't like a real sweet vodka, this isn't your jam. But if you like a sweet flavored, put it in a cocktail kind of vodka, it's great stuff, and it is very inexpensive. Anyway, so the Smithsonian sends back this analysis, and that is enough to convince the trial judge, who was over the whole situation, J.E. Blackwood, that Wilson was innocent. So he starts petitioning the governor to pardon this guy because there's no way in hell it could have been him that did it, because there wasn't a did to do, you know?
There wasn't a ta-da to did. Right?
Well, I mean, there's just no evidence. There's no there's no murder.
Lee, you don't have to convince me.
Yeah.
I get it.
So the prosecutor, Mr. Embry, was like, oh, hell no, we got him. He killed his wife. Those were her bones.
Oh, hell no.
Fuck off. So every time that he would come up for exoneration or anything like that, any time they were trying to challenge this conviction, the Embry man just absolutely would not let anybody get anything in towards trying to free this man. And he kept doing this for 3.5 years. And Bill Wilson was doing hard labor in prison, and he was not doing well, you know. Yeah. And then just sort of randomly, like a miraculous kind of thing happened. So
did she come back?
We're getting there.
She has to have come back.
So there was a man who had gotten out of town real quick some years before, and he had sent a letter to his brother, and he told all about how he and his new wife had decided to make a new start, and they had settled about 400 miles north of Alabama in Bicknell, Indiana, and his new wife was Jenny Wilson.
Oh, hey. Hey, Jenny.
So she had run off with her baby.
Jenny, I got your bones over here.
Yeah, with her baby and that man. So that man was like, holy fuck, she's still alive. This letter proves it. Mm-hmm. We got to get some people on this. So he tells everybody. The letter gets taken to Mr. Embry, and Embry's finally like, okay, fine. But I got to see her in person to make sure this isn't all a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
So they sent, official letters asking her to return to Alabama. And Jenny gets the letter, has no idea that her ex-husband has been on trial and in prison for all this long. She's like, well, shit. So she comes back to Alabama real fast. And when she shows up, she's like, hey, I'm super not dead. The baby's not dead anyway either. Like, it's fine. So finally, when they confirmed her identity with everybody in the town, they finally pardoned Bill Wilson.
They pardoned him? Because, a pardon means that you accept a guilty
Well, I think
sentence.
It was an exoneration.
There you go.
But anyway,
that would make more sense to me.
They let him go at any rate. And they had to compensate him $3,500.
Jesus, that's a lot of money.
Because he had spent 4 years in prison for something he certainly did not do and was very apparent that he did not do. So at that point, he used his $3,500 to buy a small farm, and he ended up marrying another lady, and they had a family. And he
killed her, didn't he?
He did not.
Oh, I mean, double jeopardy, am I right?
And he died in 1946, and he was 69 years old. So this is one of the cases that is brought up a lot in law when you're talking about convicting innocent people. Mm-hmm. And so it's been it's in a lot of law books and stuff like that about, wrongful conviction and sort of the things that add up to have convictions in cases like this. So it's a pretty famous case study. But yeah, so that is the Wilson case. They convicted a man for killing his wife while she was still very much alive.
Well, she was fucking some guy up in Indiana. She had just
run off with someone else, and he was trying to be polite about it. If he had just said, hey, she ran off, she's fucking someone else, he could probably have avoided all that shit.
Well, it sounds like he didn't even know what she was doing.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure he knew what she was doing. Who she was doing anyway.
Oh, he did know? Is what you're saying?
I just wonder if the baby was his or his,
His or his, yeah. I agree.
I'm just saying, maybe there was a reason she only took the one baby with her, but anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to cast any more aspersions on this lady, who is now, in fact, dead.
Are we sure, though? Are we sure? I mean,
do what you gotta, but...
What does that mean?
Do what you gotta.
I don't understand.
Me either.
Well, at least we're on the same page. You can't accuse us of ever being confused about what the other meant.
No, never.
Right?
Ever, never.
we're at least a unified front, because neither one of us have any fucking idea what Leah just said.
Truth.
All right. Well, I enjoyed that story.
I'm so glad.
How long was he in for? How long was he in prison?
Just about 4 years.
Okay. That's not terrible. I mean, it's not, he also didn't do anything, but it's not the worst. It's not, some
it's
people
not
spend
like
40
he spent
years.
30 years in prison and but it's still like.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's for goddamn ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. But, I feel bad for him. But.
Yeah. But at least he got a farm out of it after it was all over, so that's nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Did you say they gave him the farm, or he used the money to pay for the farm? No,
he used the $3,500 to purchase a farm.
No, they should have just fucking given him a farm after all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But whatever.
All right, so that was our very first story of the evening.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, my love.
Excellent.
So what's next?
All right, well, we're also doing another...
Alabama
true crime-ish kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But this time, it's a little more alcohol-centric, I guess.
Yay! My favorite.
Some of the interesting stuff is alcohol-centric. Anyway.
Keeping things.
So we are going to be talking about a man called William Beltry Smith.
Okay. I'm confused already, but that's all right.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
So this William Smith character was a very wealthy man. He inherited some money from his dad after his dad passed on.
So his dad was a wealthy man.
Not like super crazy wealthy. He definitely took the money from his dad and invested it to get a lot more money. Yeah. So his thing was he purchased hundreds of acres of land, it's in like Cherokee County, and in Cherokee County there's a place called Bluffton, and it was a boom town, and lots of minerals and ore was found down there of several different varieties.
Ooh,
and
yeah, there's a lot of money in that.
Yeah, and so they had lots of mines and refineries and that kind of thing set up, and then the bottom fell out of that and the boom busted, and basically now there's almost nothing left of that area down there. There's several houses that survived from that time period, but for the most part it's a ghost town. Most of the things were taken apart, and it's not really a populated area anymore. Okay. Back in the day when this guy had it, he in fact was pretty wealthy. It's in that area, and he had purchased. Booming. Yes, it was booming, and he had purchased a lot of land, and he, there were minerals found on his property, and so he sailed it. He sold a lot of it, and he made lots and lots of money. And he kept buying property, and he at one point owned most of Signal Mountain, and he ran most of it as a farm, and he raised livestock, and he had, gardening kind of situations, and he supplied a lot of the hotels and resort areas in Alabama with meat and vegetables and stuff like that for the resort season, and that's where he made a lot of his money from. Yeah. He was a very wealthy man. He was a very well-known man, but in a lot of places he was not very much of a well-liked man. He was a bully, pretty much is the best way to describe it. He was huge. He was over 6'2". He was a hulking, muscular kind of dude. He had a wife, 7 kids, and he, for the most part was a really good, person to them, but to everybody else he was kind of a fuckface. Okay. He was known to carry a pistol at all times, and he used it several times and killed several people.
Like in duels or something, or just like
not in duels, but
he would get in an argument and just shoot somebody.
Pretty much. So one of them was there was a furnace, the Etna furnace in Bluffton, that was one of during the Boomtown era. He got in an argument with 2 men on the porch of that furnace and just shot him. He had been known to have killed 4 African American men for getting in a fight of some sort with him, but probably he was the one who provoked it because he seems like a super douchebag.
You're making some assumptions
so
here,
that's at least 5 people that he had killed with that pistol, if not more. And then he also shot his brother-in-law because his brother-in-law was beating his wife, which was the guy's sister.
I was going to say fucking his sister.
Of all the people that he shot, like that one I can get behind. But everybody else, maybe we don't shoot people. Just saying.
Yeah.
And
I get it, but don't do it.
So, like I said, he always carried a pistol with him, and he was not afraid to use it. And every time he used it, and ended up killing someone, he was acquitted of all charges because it was, quote, self-defense. But mostly that was because he was a rich, scary dude that no one wanted to cross. So it was very hard to get any kind of conviction to stick to him in that area.
Weird how that used to work, right?
Right?
Doesn't happen anymore,
so
thankfully.
Glad that shit doesn't happen anymore.
Thankfully.
Oh, so nice.
We're in such a better world now.
So much better. Ugh. Anyway, so this Bill Smith man was called Bill Beltree Smith, and there's a reason for that.
Okay.
And here's where the alcohol part of the story comes in. So he ran a bit of an illicit liquor selling scheme.
Was this during Prohibition?
Now, it was not in nationwide Prohibition, but lots of places in the South were completely dry for a long time before nationwide Prohibition became a thing.
Okay.
So moonshiners and distillers and rum runners and that whole situation were here before it happened in the rest of the country because, like I said, everybody else could get liquor, but a lot of these places were so remote that if you didn't have a connection of some sort, it was hard to bring it in because it wasn't available at stores because it was illegal. So he decided that it would be a very profitable venture to provide these things for the community. So, shot in the dark.
Okay, let me get it. Oh, God. Ad. Got it.
All right. So the type of illicit liquor distribution establishment that he ran has kind of an odd name.
Oh, no.
And it's just a type. It's not his specifically. It's just a phrase that denotes this type of speakeasy. Okay. So what was it called? Was it called A, a blind tiger, B, a deaf lion, or C, a mute bear?
Oh, man. All right. So you're saying it's the type that he was in.
Yeah. So
and
like
I'm going to say
people call a speakeasy like the like it would be like calling something a speakeasy. You would call it a.
Listen, I have the solution.
Okay.
Okay. This man had this family. You said he had children and a wife and everything.
Yeah.
I think that was all a beard, and this man, this huge man, was actually gay, also known as a bear, and he ran the mute bear so that you would be silent about his illicit gay bar. Done. Is that it?
No.
Yay! Success. I got it, didn't I?
No.
Okay.
It was a blind tiger.
Oh, man.
And there's actually a 56-minute long independent film about this man.
Oh, God. I've seen it, Leah. I have seen the mute bear porno. Let me tell you. It is not
pornography, but it is called, like, Bill Beltree, the Blonde Tiger. What?
Do you want another shot?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hold on. I have seen the mute
Ye
bear.
Old Gay Bar sounds like so much fun.
Do what? What kind of gay bar?
Just a Ye Old Gay Bar sounds
absolutely.
Great.
Silent disco mute bear. Where, like, don't talk to any of these big old gay men in here, but have your headphones on.
Bears are like the nicest people.
Yeah, I know, Leah.
Okay, anyway.
I am one. Thank you.
Ready?
Yep. 1, 2, 3. Whew. Oh, it's so good. The second one burns a little bit more.
Got up my nose.
Me too. What do you know?
Ugh.
Oh, that was often a problem in the mute bear as well. It would go right up the nose.
It's the blonde tiger, Mitchell.
Yeah.
Anyway, So, his home was right on the state line in Cherokee County, Alabama, where it meets Polk County, Georgia. So they had a tree that sort of marked the boundary between the counties and the states. And it was a water oak, and it was just a big, nice, pretty tree. And it was very close to some property that may or may not have been owned by Mr. Beltree Smith. And nailed to this little tree was a soapbox. And it was nailed about, 3.5 feet up. And it had a pad of paper in it. And it had a sign on it. And it was misspelled real bad. But it said, "Write your order and leave the money."
Oh.
All spelled incorrectly.
Every word was incorrect?
Except "the." I think "the" was fine. But everything else was spelled improperly. But,
cute.
it gets the job done. Write your order and leave the money.
It's folksy.
Very.
I like it.
And it didn't really say what you were ordering. It didn't say why you were ordering it. Or anything like that. But people that were in the know knew.
Oh, God.
And so they would write their order and leave the money.
Yeah.
So the tree had that writing pad and the sign. And what you would do is you would go to the tree. Oh, and there was also a cowbell, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah. So they would go to the tree. They would write on the pad whatever their order was, whatever their specific desire was, liquor-wise, whether it be, a quart of moonshine or, a bottle of wine or whatever else that they could possibly have wanted. They wrote it down and they left the money, and they would ring the cowbell. And after they rang the cowbell, they would go take a walk. And there was a sign that said, basically, "Don't come back until you hear the bell again, or you're going to get shot."
You
also
can't know who's dropping off your moonshine.
Exactly.
Oh.
And so there were directions. It said, "Go down the road and wait." You can tell the place.
Too?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can tell the place when you get to it. So about 50 yards down the road, sort of a bend in the trees out behind, there were sort of little seating area with like logs and stuff that you just sat and waited. So you just sat and hang out until you hear that bell ring again. Once you heard the bell ring, you would go back to the tree. And in that box, you would find whatever it was that you had ordered.
Oh, God.
Whiskey, beer, liquor, moonshine, whatever it was that you ordered and paid for, it'd be in the box. Now, if you had ordered something that they were out of or couldn't get a hold of,
that's what I was
you'd come back,
ask.
And the notepad said, "What else?"
I was going to ask what they would do, like, if they didn't have it, or, like, when you say beer, were they making beer, or were they going to the store and buying beer?
Well, I mean, I believe that they were, it was in a time period where there were, like, manufacturers of spirits and beers and stuff like that, especially up north, and I believe they were illegally running it, and they had connections to where they could get a supply.
Okay.
And so, if they had what you wanted, you could find it in that tree.
That's convenient.
Right?
Yeah. Wish I had a beer tree.
I do need a beer tree. Anyway, so there were lots of summer visitors in this area, resorts nearby, and the people that came all knew about this bell tree, and they knew about how to get their liquor because, these resorts were in dry areas, and they couldn't specifically provide their patrons with alcohol. And a lot of the patrons were, rich northerners that came down south to have a good time. And if you can't provide them liquor, what are you going to do? So everybody sort of knew in the area about this bell tree and what to do, and they would sort of pass that information on to their patrons, etc. So people could get good and boozed up, like you do. So a lot of people patronize the tree, and some of them would admit that they did, and some of them would not admit that they did. Yeah. But, it was just an out in the open speakeasy, and everybody knew that it was going on, but no one could swear that Mr. Beltree Smith was the one that was doing it, because ain't nobody ever saw him specifically do it. Mm-hmm. And he did, in fact, have a liquor license He had a liquor license from the federal government to, procure it, but the state or the counties that he was technically serving in was, dry. So
yeah, kind of like Jack Daniels, where they can make it, but you can't buy it in the county where they make it.
Federal revenuers never really messed with him because they couldn't really do that, but a lot of the local law enforcement were very upset with it and tried to bust him multiple times, but they charged him and they charged him and they charged him, but he was never convicted because no one would ever say anything negative towards him, because if you did, he'd probably show up with a pistol and shoot you. He was that kind of intimidating, awful kind of person of a dude that would just, show up and shoot people for no good reason.
Don't you wish you could do that?
No, I really don't.
I do. There's so many stupid people I want to get rid of.
It turns out that, like I said, he was very well known for this situation, and like I said, people called him Beltree because he was the one that ran the Beltree, but it didn't take long till after all of this had been going on for a while. If you shoot a bunch of people and piss a lot of people off, eventually you're going to have some issues with the locals. You know what I mean?
I do. God, don't I? So, Hartselle hates me.
They actually probably do, because because
what's happening in Hartselle does not want to wear masks, Leah. Good God, they're stupid. And they hate me for saying, hey, you're kind of stupid.
I'm just really glad that most of the old people that I know, don't know you, because, if they did, they would think I was a really bad person for being married to you, but whatever.
Well, I mean, that point is also not really up for debate. You kind of suck.
Yeah, it's true. I'm the worst.
You've made poor choices.
Definitely. But, I'm having a good time, so what are you gonna do?
If you're having fun, who cares?
So eventually that whole situation starts catching up with him. Mm-hmm. So he was at a church in New Bethel, or the New Bethel Church, that was a little ways away, passing, it's a place called Borden Springs. Mm-hmm. And they were at this all day singing. It was like a camp revival, singing hymns, having a good time, summer, picnicky kind of situation.
Little town of Pascagoula. Did you ever hear that song? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of course.
It was a fight for survival. Broke out in revival. What was it? A squirrel got in the
squirrel.
revival?
Yeah.
It's the whole Ray Stevens song.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Don't sing that around Aaliyah, because she loves that song.
I can't wait. We're going over to their house for a bonfire tonight, and I am singing it. I'm starting it. We're going to have a group singing.
The day a squirrel went berserk in the first Uprighteous Church.
There you go. I can't wait. I'm so happy you let me in on that.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Anyway, so at this place, a couple of dudes start getting into a little bit of a tussle, a fight, if you will.
Oh, I will.
And there was a man, there was Mr. Smith. He was there, of course. Yeah. And there was a man named Mr. Chandler, Will Chandler, that was there. And there were the two guys, they were younger, teenage boys that had gotten into this fight. And one of the boys that was in the fight was employed by that Mr. Chandler guy. And the other one was employed by the Mr. Smith, Mr. Beltree Smith. And they were both sort of mixed up into this whole situation. And eventually they both got drug into this fight, and they were sort of carrying on and hitting each other, etc. And then Mr. Smith's brother, I believe, it wasn't his employee, it was his brother. Mm-hmm. He had gotten that Chandler boy down into sort of a chokehold, and he was like just to the point where it was worrying that it would kill him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Mr. Chandler was like, holy shit, we gotta like stop this. And so Mr. Beltry Smith, draws his gun and basically points it at one of the kids and basically says, you can't do this anyway. Eventually says, you better get down on your knees and pray because you're about to meet God. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to shoot you in the head and end all of this shit. And so when Mr. Chandler sees all this shit, he's like, ain't no fucking way I'm going to let this fucking yahoo just murder a bunch of folks around here. It's not cool. So he goes and he finds a big old fucking rock. And he has this rock. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to hit you in the head with it. So he just like yeets this rock into this dude's head. And he gets like caught in the temple. And it like smacks him and he drops his gun. And so he's like bleeding from the forehead, Mr. Beltry is. And he's like, well, what the fuck just happened? He's lost his gun at this point, and he's just sort of dazed. So Will Chandler takes this opportunity to grab the gun that he dropped and shoot Beltry Smith like 4 times.
Yeah. Well, he deserved it.
Super duper deserved it. Threatening children with guns. You know, what are you going to do?
Well, sometimes kids suck, Leah. We've talked about it.
So anyway,
I hate children.
He shot Mr. Smith in the head, and it definitely killed him.
Mr.
Beltry Smith. Yeah. And so he was like, well, shit. I just killed someone. He's real rich. This could be a problem. So he is like, oh, fuck, gets his shit, leaves real fast, and runs off to Heflin. Yeah. And eventually the authorities come looking for him, and he was like, oh, I feel real bad about this. I'm going to give myself up. So he does. He turns himself in, and he ends up being, processed at the Heflin County, or the Heflin City Jail. And he had sort of a preliminary trial the next morning. And he ended up, making bond, and they awaited, like a grand jury situation. And eventually, they had, this grand jury set up, and they put him on trial. And basically, everybody was so glad to get rid of this Beltry Smith guy that they were just like, yeah, what you did was pretty much self-defense. Everybody probably would have done it in that situation. Mm-hmm. So they let him off, and he did, just fine. And he was the one that ended up killing the notorious Beltry Smith. And so he, ended the era of the Beltry. And after Mr. Beltry died, people would go back to that tree trying to order their alcohol, and ain't no alcohol showed up, no bell rang, even after they tried. So it's pretty known that, he was the one that was running that little blind tiger there on the state line.
Mute bear.
The what? The mute bear.
Mute bear.
Oh, anyway. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Will Chandler ended up, basically, getting off completely for that.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him.
Yep. I think he was actually convicted of manslaughter, but the governor at the time, who was Governor Comer, which has people, have lots of buildings are named after that man. But anyway, he was found guilty of manslaughter, like I said, just very minimal manslaughter. And then he was pardoned by the governor because everybody was like, yeah, there's
the least amount of manslaughter.
The least amount of killing somebody.
Very minimal manslaughter is maybe the funniest thing you've ever said.
I'm sorry.
He just got her a little bit pregnant. Just a smidge.
Just a little manslaughter.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, he was pardoned and he walked away a free man and all of that stuff. And so basically just hanging out, having a great time. Mr. Beltry was no longer. So,
yeah. Well, good. Fuck that guy. I mean, I don't know. I might have been friends with him. You know how I am.
Yeah, you're kind of the worst. But at the time of his death, Mr. Beltree's like property estate was worth just the land was worth like $185,000.
Like in that time frame's money?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was incredibly rich, and he made a lot of that money by running illegal alcohol.
Yeah. Fucking A. Like, was the IRS not a thing back then where they were like, okay, I know he had the liquor license, but it's still illegal to do all that trading. You know?
I mean, he was paying taxes on all of his land and all of the other stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, so who cares, right? You're right. It's my bad, Leah.
And he was probably paying off people, would be my guess.
Enrich the rich, kill the poor. You're right.
I thought we were supposed to eat the poor. Wait, no, eat the rich? I don't know.
Nope, you're right. Enrich the rich, eat the poor. Because there's so many more of them, you can gorge yourself. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah. But I hear billionaires are delicious with like a butter reduction.
Oh, no. No. The super lean poor people, Leah. Oh, my God. You have no idea how good they are just sauteed up with some olive oil.
Oh, kill me.
Especially the baby ribs.
Oh, Mitchell.
Full circle.
You've taken it to a deep, dark place.
Oh, man. The poor baby ribs.
Ugh.
Just with a nice, sweet, tangy barbecue sauce.
Sweet Baby Ray's. That's what it was for.
Yeah, that's where that sauce comes from. Surprised you didn't know that.
Kill me.
They were specifically for baby ribs back in the day.
I really hope everybody understands that we are sarcastic and
who is?
Yeah. What?
I just want to be rich so I can eat the poor. Is that such a crime?
Yes, that is 100% a fucking crime.
That is literally a crime.
I don't know how else to put that to you, but yes,
Is it such a crime to just want to eat lesser people?
Yes.
Financially lesser. You don't mean anything else. We don't mean anything else. We're fucking poor people. What am I saying?
We're very poor people. Anyway, Soylent is people. Let's toast.
The baby ribs are people.
Soylent Green is people. Okay.
I am redubbing the Soylent Green movie, and I'm just you're gonna hear Charlton Heston's voice for the entirety of it, except for at the end, and you're gonna just hear and it's just me cutting in baby ribs are people. It's just like I don't even act at all. I just put in baby ribs, and the rest of it is Charlton Heston. Is people.
Oh Lord.
I'm watching that movie now, and I'm gonna figure that out.
You go ahead.
I think I can do it.
Sure.
Except everywhere in the movie that he says the word Soylent Green, I'm going to dub myself in just going, baby ribs. Don't laugh at that. That's a terrible, terrible idea.
Everything is terrible that we've said for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you want to just toast and get on with this process? Because
if you want to.
Oh, bless it.
Go for it.
All right. Well, everybody hoist your brunch punch high into the sky. Let's get a toasted. If you're prosecuting murder based on bones in a riverbed, best make sure your victims are good and truly dead. Just leave your money in an old oak tree and walk away for a spell. And don't you dare come back to peek until you hear that bell. Drink.
That was excellent, Leah. I'm so proud of you.
Yay.
Well, I enjoyed it.
I'm so glad. Heavy sigh.
Yeah. Less sigh.
Well, are you going to wrap this up or what?
I guess. I want to thank everybody for listening. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are just everywhere. We're all over the place.
We are here and there and everywhere.
Yeah. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast. Send us an email, southernspiritspodcast@gmail.com. Send us postcards or any other fun stuff to P.O. Box 1743 in Hartselle, Alabama. That's Hartselle 35640.
Just no baby ribs, please.
Yeah, don't send any baby ribs. We'll be okay without them. Is there anything else I forgot, Leah?
I don't think so. Oh, join the Southern Spirits community chat on Facebook. We've had a few new members. Welcome to all of y'all. And if you want to just like hang out with us and talk and share really silly memes and stupid shit, join that. Just request to join the Southern Spirits community chat Facebook page, and we'll let you in if you are a cool person.
Yeah, I agree. Only if you're a cool person, though.
Only if you're cool.
Yeah, we have to check and see if you'll have baby ribs with us. All right.
We are not eating baby ribs.
Well, we will see y'all next week.
All right, bye, y'all.